The extraordinary case of the umbrella crime. Background. Ortigueira is a 5,804 inhabitant coastal town and municipality located in the northern end of Galicia, northwestern Spain, more specifically at the end of one of the many Galician ríos. Galicia doesn't fit the idea many foreigners have of Spain. It's a very humid, green region with lush forests and abundant rainfall in the ballpark of 120 rainy days a year. Its climate is closer to that of Britain than to that of popular Spanish destinations like Barcelona or Alicante. And some 10 kilometers, 6 miles, east is the small parish of Cuzadahuero, with just 99 inhabitants, 2017. Salvador López Timoraus, here pictured next to his mother in 2001, was born in Ortigueira in 1979, growing up in Cuzadahuero. In 2001 he was 22 years old but, unlike most young people, he wasn't getting higher education or learning a trade. At the time, Salvador had a much more important issue to deal with, and that issue was fighting for his life, literally. He had been battling cancer since he was just 18 years old. His condition was particularly debilitating, the reason for which he had been granted a disability pension until he achieved remission, assuming he was lucky enough to make it to remission. Salvador's cancer was so painful that his oncologist had surgically implanted a morphine pump on his torso, so the young man could self-administer small doses of the opium-based painkiller whenever the pain his cancer caused him to experience became unbearable. Salvador's body reflected the effects of the disease. His neighbors were very concerned about his health. Once a healthy and strong teenager, Salvador was now a very underweight and weak young adult. He had very little energy and just about any physical activity left him out of breath. His skin turned very pale. Still, Salvador tried to make the best out of his life. He took frequent walks in nature, enjoyed going out for dinner or some drinks with his friends, and he often went fishing at his favorite spots at the river. Enrique Dovel Pernas, born 1946, lived just 100 meters, 330 feet, from the house where Salvador had grown up and lived with his parents. Nicknamed Ricolo by locals, Enrique was well known in the many villages and towns of the municipality of Ortigueira. He was bad news. Even at 55 years old he still used brute force to intimidate others and have his way. He was a bully who abused alcohol and drugs, always getting into fights and terrorizing even his own family to get what he wanted. So much so that even his own mother had to leave the town to get away from Enrique's violence and threats to her life. According to his cousin, Enrique wasn't even particularly intelligent, dim-witted, in fact, and he had been evil from a very early age. Salvador had been for years the target of Enrique's cruelty. He called him names, made fun of his sickly condition and, in one instance, he even attempted to run him over with his car. The night of the events. April 23, 2001. At around 9:45 p.m., Salvador López stormed into the tavern where he'd had a drink barely an hour earlier. He looked like someone had roughed him up, and he was visibly shaken. He asked for help, however not for himself. He asked the tavern staff to call an ambulance for his attacker, Enrique Dovel. Salvador guided the paramedics, and the police officers, to a small leafy vegetable garden next to the rural road that led to his parents' residence. There, face up on the grassy ground, was Enrique. He was unresponsive, and he was bleeding profusely from his nose. He had no pulse. The paramedics tried to revive him, but it was in vain and Enrique was pronounced dead at the scene. Salvador, cooperative and upfront with authorities from the very beginning, explained to the officers his version of the events. He was subsequently arrested and put in preventive jail under suspicion of having committed murder.